Greetings, God bless. I was just listening to some music and that Smith song called Shoplifters of the World. And I've got to say, when I was living in Rapid City, I went to a Safeway and this guy came out with these two bottles of liquor and he looked really frightened at me when I was just entering the store to do my shopping. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I guess he has anxiety or something. And then I learned that he had just shoplifted. And so this was, I don't know, maybe 2021. And when I talked to the cashier, they said, oh, yeah, they get shoplifted every day. Every day, that store in South Dakota was shoplifted. And then here in Denver, when I've been at Target, I've seen people shoplifting, people putting stuff in their coat or somebody filled up a whole basket and cut in front of me when I'm going down the escalator. So I was just like about to fall, and and he had this whole basket full of candy, and and we know stores are closing because they're getting shoplifted. I went to a dollar store, and this lady said that the dollar store is closing because they get shoplifted more than they make a profit. And so stores are shoplifted so much that the store can't make a profit. And then these communities that are doing the shoplifting complain that the store closes. And I think that what's going on in this dystopia we are living in is paid social workers are enabling this entitlement mindset. And I wonder if the paid social workers come from entitled families. So they never really learned what a working class ethic is. Uh, and so then they're like, yeah, your parents should give you everything. The government should give you everything. You shouldn't have to work for anything. You shouldn't have any morality. You just, because you're you, and because you're this particular demographic, you deserve more than the working class white person that pays taxes and works and is honorable and has integrity. I'm not saying all white people have integrity. I'm not saying all black people or native people are stealing, but that's been what I've observed. I did see a white guy stealing a cherry out of a bag at the local grocery store, and I see white people having violent altercations on the bus, men or women, and I see black people too, having being violent. So, but this shoplifters of the world, like I think the Smiths were doing some spell casting, because here we are. Like, when was that song written? In the 80s. And here we are, where shoplifting is so bad that many huge stores are shutting down. Hundreds of stores are shutting down. And communities are going to have even more of a desert. They're not going to have any fresh food. And nobody's going to open a store for shoplifting the to death. And with the current situation where police, they're just like, yeah, I'm not getting involved unless it's going to make a good news story. So there's no protection for owners, and then store clerks get fired if they call the police. Like, that's happened here in King Supers in Colorado, and I've heard of this happening elsewhere where the employees get fired by the company for calling the police. Like, this is anarchy, and the only thing that's saving everybody, the little that we are, is that some of the most, I mean, I don't know, just people don't realize it's anarchy. And seriously, folks, Like, you shouldn't be traveling. You shouldn't be doing fun things outside of your city or state. You really should be, enjoy your local town. Like, that's the thing. Like, everybody's like, oh, I've got to go 3,000 miles away to do anything. Like, enjoy and invest in where your home base is, and really, like, see what's going on there, and invest yourself in there. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what regular people need to do. I mean, I think we fight not flesh and blood. I know we fight not flesh and blood. We fight not flesh and blood, but principalities. So what I feel is a demonic, diabolical, satanic infiltration that's occurred in the country, and it's been going on for a long time, but it's really amplified lately. And so I think prayer is good, but it was weird because it's like when I was on the bus yesterday, and these two white people, one was seemed like she was on drugs or very mentally ill, and another was very drunk. And the guy, I think he punched me. At first, I thought he just bumped into me, but it was it was such a blow. I realized he punched me. He punched me, and I was just sitting there, like I was just afraid and sitting there, and he punched me. Um, and I lost my train of thought, but just that there is violence and everybody's doing it. So anyway, sorry to get distracted. I think I made my point, and I think it's like as a fairly new Christian, I've heard that we shouldn't listen to modern music or whatever. And before I became a believer around 2017, I was and even into that, like I have listened to music a lot, and I find it helps me think. It helps me organize, and it's soothing. And it's been mainstreamish, like alternative rock or rock or ambient music, but there's all these spells in it. There's all this influence. So I think it's good to point out, like when I did my Depeche Mode. I don't know if it's on this channel, but um, like there's that Depeche Mode, "Don't Let Me Down Again," and I think it is about Satan saying, "Don't let me down." Now God put Satan down, like, and maybe that's where the origin of these terms, "let me down," "put me down," because who was the original one putting who down? It was God putting Satan down. Satan had to go down because Satan originally was the topmost angel, the topmost um, cherub above God. And so once Satan had pride, he had to go. He couldn't be above God because Satan was like, I'm above God, so I'm better than God. But Satan was not the creator. Who's the creator? The prime creator, the one creator, the living God is the creator. So, anyways, I do think that, yes, the songs have spells. And yes, I think there's some disclosure in these songs. So, I just think that's maybe helpful to, break that down and share to that to that one person or the AI bot that's reading through the transcripts, because that's like there'll be nobody who watches my video, but I'll get a warning or a strike for something that nobody's ever watched. And my content is very humdrum. It's the concepts are heavy, um, but like I'm not doing it. I nobody watches the video, and yet they get in trouble. Like, so I don't know. I must be doing something right. Uh, but yeah, if you notice something that I'm doing wrong, let me know. But if you think I'm doing something right, I prefer to hear that actually, if I'm honest. So anyway, yeah, I think the Smiths were probably some type of like magical, of course, um, like they were practicing some sort of magic kind of thing. so so of course their songs might be prescient, might have been like seeds, because who was listening to the Smiths? It was like these emo kind of, alternative people. And so the lady, and Smiths is kind of more of a girl's favorite band. And I don't know, guys too, though. Guys did like the Smiths. But music, being that frequency alters DNA and stuff like that. So those songs got into girls, uh, the eggs that they carried, because I think each woman, each girl carries their own eggs, the eggs of their daughters and granddaughters. So when we listen to the Smiths, uh, those spells, when we're listening to any band or any media, that's that's altering our the eggs that females have, and of course it's altering male sperm. But women carry like multiple generations of eggs, as I understand it. So, um, so we're in the maybe second or third generation women who are listening to the Smiths. So those spells in those songs, and especially they're so visceral. Like the Smiths, some of the Smith songs are just so visceral. It seems to me that would make it more powerful. So now, even though it's not the grandchildren of Smith's fans that are doing the shoplifting, they are enabling it. I think, because I've never heard the Smiths played by a whole bunch of different black people in the projects. Like it's more when I lived in the projects or near the projects, what people were blasting was rap music, and even now on the street, when somebody's blasting, it's rap music. Like I'm like, how is your hearing not impaired? But uh, so and yeah, because if we're looking at who's who's doing this Marxist agenda, it's these it's these crazy women. I mean, and crazy men for sure, but like these hysterical or unhinged women, um, like they're unhinged without even provocation. It seems. I mean, I haven't been there. Like, I haven't been. I've seen videos. But even like when I went to Target to tell them I was concerned, I didn't like the chest binding equipment being sold as a girl's swimsuit, because when you make a body part uncomfortable, and then you're like, oh yeah, let's chop it off. I mean, because that's this new growth industry. The new medical growth industry is to chop off uh, children's body parts, and then they become a lifelong patient because they're deliberately um, disabled. They're deliberately handicapped because you know those those are part of our proprioception. Those are part of our body. And even if you cut something off, because the doctors are like, oh, you'll never miss it, but people do miss things. We all have a hole in our heart because we didn't have God, but we miss it. And that's why people become alcoholics and drug addicts and sex addicts and workaholics and abusers and psychotic. It's because there's something really huge that's missing. And even though America and liberals are like, there's no God, even though meditation and Esengoinka and uh, Buddha says, oh, there's no God. We know there's a God. We don't even know how to articulate that issue. We don't even know how to articulate what's the hole in our heart about until we've done a lot of work. I mean, it's taken me 30 years or longer to realize there's a hole in people's hearts, and that it is God, and that God, this essential experience with God is being erased. It's like Satan doesn't want people to believe in God, know there's a God, especially doesn't want people to know he's real. But just because we try to erase God doesn't mean humans can function without God, as we see in July 2023. Like, France is in flames. France is a pretty godless country. Most of Europe is a godless country. Even America has become somewhat of a godless country. I mean, yeah, there's people, there's churches, and there's people who call themselves Christian, but they're not even really learning about the Bible. They're not learning about Apostle Paul, Romans 2, Philemon, and they, so many Christians think that they are Israel, that they get Israel's promise, that for the Old Testament applies to them somehow. Even when Paul says like he's the apostle to the Gentiles, but Christians just want to create their own religion, and they're calling it Christianity. And then they're also just can be very terrible evangelicists. Like they can be so mean and abusive, and they say that they're doing it in the name of Lord Jesus Christ, which I think is satanic. So anyway, it's pretty strange, our reality, and it's just even stranger to like listen to old favorite songs and be like, oh my gosh, that's another spell that was cast. That 30 years, 40 years is coming true now. And it's not through, like I was saying, it's not the upper class liberal rich white girl that's doing the stealing, but it's the people that I guess she's the social worker for, or she's the government worker for, and she's getting paid. She's getting paid to enable people to think a certain way. And this is a self-destructive way, just because, so these people are stealing stores blind, and then the store shuts down. These people are not thinking about their best interests. Like, that's why, if you like a product, you donate, like if you like a free thing, you donate or you buy the thing, because nothing can be given for free indefinitely. And if you appreciate and value what somebody's done for you, or what an organization or a resource has done, you do some little part to show your gratitude and to give back, because life is not a one-way thing. But for some reason, like, certain demographics are told, and it's this Marxist mentality fundamentally, that they're told they don't have to do anything, and that America owes them everything. Like, when I was in South Dakota, there's the land back movement, and Native people were like, oh yeah, all this land, all these houses that these white people live in, this is our land. Everything is all ours. And I'm like, well, are you building the roads? Are you installing the electricity? Are you making sure there's Wi-Fi? Are you paying for all of that? No. But there's this weird proprietariness that I've noticed. And the thing is, if we look into the actual history of the Lakota, Dakota, and the third tribe there, it's always like these three tribes. Anyway, like, I think it was like the Lakota just got there 50 years before the white people. And there had been a previous tribe that just had been killed by disease or something like that. So, white people in the city are like, and this holy group of people, we honor them, and we're on their land. Those white people don't even know if those Native people that they're uplifting as the most as on a pedestal, they don't even know if that Native group was there just a year before the white man came. But these white progressive liberal virtue signalers are they're just groveling and disgracing all demographics have contributed. Black people have contributed. Chinese people have contributed to America. Like if those Native people, like, with any integrity, if they saw what was going on, they would be like, no, I don't want that. I don't want this virtue signaling. I don't need to be honored 300 years after my people are gone, because I wouldn't honor you. Like, what makes the native people so much more important than who knows who existed before the native people? There's these orange haired giants that were like 12 feet tall. Okay, so they were here before the brown native people that we assume stereotype to be Native Americans. Okay, so being that those Native Americans might have been there for 100 years, but the original people who lived here were 12-foot giants with orange hair. Okay, so why don't we honor those? Like, it's this racism. It's like, I think it's called reverse racism. It's like white people are being such bigots. They're like, oh, I gotta worship the Native Americans because they're dark skinned. Like, that's a racism. That's racism when a white person or even a black person, when they're like, oh, I worship the dark skinned person because they're dark. Like, that's racism because it's just basing it on the race. But that's the new religion now. Like, racism is the religion of the liberal left in America. But my point is that when a progressive liberal encourages people of color, poor people of color to steal, and when a educated white person encourages poor people of color to feel entitled, that is destructive. Like, those people of color's ancestors did not say, oh, I'm entitled to taking my neighbor's belongings. People, and Indian people didn't do it, and African people didn't do it, and early African American people didn't go into their neighbor's house and steal their stuff and think it was okay. Only crazy people do. Only psychotic, psychopathic, sociopathic people think it's okay to steal and keep on stealing and stealing indefinitely, and then complaining about not being able to steal. It's the same thing with this trans thing, where biological men are threatening to kill people if they won't let them in the girls' bathroom. Like, this is psychotic. But progressive liberal feminist women are supporting this kind of insanity and endangering the rest of us. I have to go to at the Denver Main Library. It's men and women sharing the same. So I'm in a men's bathroom. I have to see weird, creepy men when I'm looking for the bathroom. And so now I don't want to go to the bathroom. Fortunately, there's like stores that have still a men's and a women's bathroom, and I go into the women's bathroom. But yeah, it's just this is a decline of Western civilization. It's a decline of America, and it's a decline of humanity. Like, with the injections, and the weird stuff that's in the injections, and whatever kind of frequencies that's being utilized, and blue light and lasers in lights and stuff like that. All of that is altering our biology, and weird stuff that they put in the chemtrails and in the air and the water and food. It's just like, America's not. It's like America's like an abusive country. It's like an abusive relationship. So, what do you guys think? Thanks for watching. God bless.